My wife and I agree on most things, especially the big things, but there are some things that we disagree about, and one of those things is our movie choices. She will often say to me, "You're going to really like this. It's really depressing." I do tend to like the depressing movies. She doesn't like them. She says she goes to a movie to be entertained, not to be lifted up, not to leave depressed. I understand, but I still like the depressing ones. I suspect she and I probably feel differently about biblical texts too. When she's looked for texts to share at one of her women's groups meetings, as often people do, she's consulted the Psalms, only to discover angry people who want their enemies to be zapped, their aloneness and their abandonedness to be addressed, and their guilt to be assuaged. Not quite what you want when your job is to encourage and inspire at the beginning of a meeting. And I like that kind of stuff, you know. The Bible is not always peppy, not always an experience of unadulterated smiliness and happiness. Sometimes the Bible's a bit dreary. While I don't always appreciate it, I do love its willingness to be honest, unlike too much religion. And there is no more honest book than the one we got to confront in our first reading for today, the book of Ecclesiastes. And I have to say, I love this remarkably depressing book. We don't get readings from this book very often, and sometimes it's just too much to handle. And I will wager that the preachers of prosperity like Joel Osteen and the hundreds of others who show up on our televisions or in the pulpits across this land never preach on this book. Oh, they might quote the familiar, "For everything there is a season, a time to be born and a time to die." But they won't grasp that really is not, as we often think it is, celebrating the seasons of life. It is bemoaning them. That's the way it is. You get born, then you die. Ho hum. Now, even if you can squeeze some good news out of that marvelous poetry, and I think you can, at least initially, you will find it hard to get the crowds pumped up with the message that they too can have a McMansion and become rich with words like these: "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. All is vapor. All is ephemeral. Everything disappears. Everything dissipates. Everything disintegrates. Everything ends up eventually in the dumpster. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity." Are you depressed yet? Well, the teacher doesn't stop there, in case you're not there yet. I, the teacher, when king over Israel and Jerusalem, applied my mind to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven, that is, on earth. It is an unhappy business that God has given human beings to be busy with. I saw the deeds that are done under the sun, and look, all is vanity and chasing after the wind. Maybe, just maybe I could figure life out. And the king here says, I tried, but I couldn't. I used all my wisdom, but that didn't produce anything worthwhile. My wisdom did not distinguish me from other people. This living stuff is hard work. Being wise, being intelligent, won't keep you from disintegrating or dying. I personally have applied my mind and my heart to wisdom. I listen to the experts, and I exercise a lot. I ate a low sodium and a low-fat diet forever, and I still got high blood pressure. Vanity of vanities. The same fate befalls the wise and the foolish. Well, at least my work will distinguish me. We'll make a mark on the world, We'll create for me a life that is good, that is full. I'll fill my house with some good stuff that will bear witness to my value and the value of what I've done. Well, listen to the teacher again, Koheleth, he's called. I hated all my toil in which I had toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to those who come after me, and who knows whether they will be wise or foolish. Yet they will be master of all which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity. So I turned and gave my heart up to despair concerning all the toils of my labor under the sun. Come on, teacher. You're starting to mess with some pretty important things to me. I come from conservative German Cincinnati. We value work, hard work. Work distinguishes us. Work makes us important. Work gives us worth and gives us stuff. Donna Summers is right. I worked hard for my money, so you better treat me right. And teacher, I don't think you are treating me right. I'm feeling a little threatened here by you today. But here's the deal, Bill. You're going to die. Who knows? Your life may be required of you this night. Your hard work, your bigger barns, in some ways, they're laughable. The bigger barns that you are building are for the sake of storing the stuff that your kids will eventually throw into the trash. They do not care about your button collection or your fine china and all the hard work that you are putting into adding to your collection of whatever. They won't continue it. They may just get all your stuff without having to work for it. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. Are you depressed yet? Now, frankly, I don't love depression. I don't like it at all. It's an awful thing. For some, it's a chemical thing, and they will tell you you don't want it. And it's not my goal to make you feel depressed, and I don't think the teacher wants to make you feel depressed, but he wants to tell you the truth. He wants to unveil what real life is. With all his talk about vapor and vanity, he wants to challenge the illusions we live with. Now, although the evidence is quite clear that the book of Ecclesiastes was not written by King Solomon, I think it is a matter of literary genius that the words in this sobering book were put in his mouth. Solomon, in case you don't know much about Solomon, you ought to go back and read the Bible and read some things about him. He had everything anybody could ever want. Money, loads of money. Wives, the Bible says 1,000 of them. Palaces, important work. Power, people at his right hand to do whatever he wanted. He had it all. He had it all. And the one who had it all realized that all wasn't what he and everybody else thought it was. It's all vapor. Our psalm for today, which is so good, puts it quite soberly. Mortals cannot abide in their pomp. They are like the animals that perish. All your stuff, all your fanciness, all your accomplishments, all your work cannot stop you from dying. I learned a word at seminary that I haven't used much since I left there, but I feel it represents what I've been doing with this sermon. The word is, and you can use this with your relatives tonight and tomorrow, and they're going to really think you are so smart. And that's really important in a world where you're going to die. You want to make sure you look like you're real smart, all right? The word is prolegomenon. And what it means, this word means, is the word before the word. I think Ecclesiastes is giving us the word that we need to hear before we hear the word. You know, what the teacher says seems depressing. All is vanity. What's the point? We're all going to die. Yes, they're unsettling words, But you got to get this. They are actually freeing words. When you think that your life is all about your work, your stuff, your possessions, when it's all about you, you go to Jesus and you say to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." When you think that your worth is dependent upon the amount of money that you have and the status that you have, you will do all that you can to get all of those things, sometimes becoming greedy in the process. You will work more than you need to. You will become obsessive, going after more and more and more. And when you go after more and more, you will probably become crabbier and crabbier. And you'll walk on top of people as you try to ascend to wherever you think you are supposed to ascend. Whenever we take ourselves entirely too seriously, whenever we don't see life as vapor, whenever we don't tell the truth that, yes, one day we're all going to die, we turn life into an unhappy game, into a harsh competition. We are prone then to grouchy judgmentalism, persistent anger, remarkable resentment, and bodies that are plagued by the ravages of stress, and mental and emotional health that is eaten away by our drivenness and our lack of contentment and quiet. We may get lots of money, lots of beautiful things that we can pass on to the next generation, but we often won't get life, real life. Take care, Jesus says. Be on guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. The word before the word is you're going to die. All of you, rich or poor, intellectual or not so intellectual, wise or unwise, famous or little known, hardworking or lazy. The word before the word is that everything disintegrates, nothing is forever, life is like mist that you can't grab with your hands. So, take a breath. Seldom will you hear this from me. Sink into the couch. Share a beer with some friends. Knock off all the craziness. Stop taking it all so seriously. Give a generous portion of your money, your stuff, your time away. Become, as Jesus says in Luke, rich toward God. Seek the things that are above, Colossians says. When you zoom out, as our theme for today puts it, when you, in other words, are grasped by the big picture, when it becomes quite clear that ultimately you are not capable of securing life with your possessions, your work, your achievement, all of a sudden, all those things become what they're supposed to be. Means for joy, enjoying life. Means for sharing life with others. Money, possessions, work, they aren't bad. They're just vaporous. They disintegrate. They do not have the power to define life or to define your worth. They aren't ultimate. When you get that, possessions and money become things you simply have. They don't have you. Yet how many of us live in such a way that our possessions possess us, our work consumes us, our achievements preoccupy us? All because we take those things too seriously. All because we take ourselves entirely too seriously. And when that happens, the teacher slaps us in the face with the word before the word, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. Depressing? Well, yeah. But also I would suggest to you the truth, and a freeing truth. I don't make life. I don't determine life. I can't secure life. It's not all up to me. And here is the word. It's all gift. It's all gift. Temporary gift. It's all grace. Well, maybe then I can do what I'm called to do, enjoy life, share what I have with others, so that together we have life that is really good.